Hey guys, Courtney here. Just a quick PSA before you start the video. In the overview section and for Aries and Taurus, I kept saying Libra full moon. No. This is an Aries full moon. The information is still accurate. The only other thing I would want to mention is that maybe this is a little bit more fiery than I was initially leading on. Although Mars square Neptune will dull down that fieriness a little bit. And then the other thing I wanted to mention was that there is a grand air trine, which I was kind of already alluding to, but I didn't specifically say that. There's a grand air trine between the Sun in the sign of Libra, Mars in the sign of Gemini, and then Saturn in the sign of Aquarius. So this is basically going to help solidify whatever changes we're trying to make right now, and establish them as something that we want in the future. And these are going to be changes that come as a result of an idea or communication or something between relationships and people and brains. So that's what I wanted to say. Go ahead and enjoy the rest of the video. Hey guys, this is Courtney from Lil's Bloom, and today we're looking at the Libra full moon happening on October 9th at 2:54 p.m. Mountain Time. So this Libra new moon is happening at 16 degrees, or sorry, full moon. That means the moon is opposite it in Aries at 16 degrees. And this one had some mixed messages for me. I sat down with it, looked at the aspects, pulled some cards, and realized I was getting two kind of different feelings with this. One is this feeling of resolution, and then another was a feeling of things maybe feeling bad or actually not resolved. And the reason is because Mars is squaring Neptune, and I'm going to get more into that in a minute. But usually when Mars squares Neptune, it makes us more confused. It makes us not take action. And so an idea of a resolution felt confusing to me with a placement like that. However, a full moon is usually a time of resolution. And so that is what I think is happening now. I think there's a mixture of maybe resolution, while there may be some kind of confusion about how to move forward or what your next chapter is going to be as a result of what's been decided, or some grief and loss and having to integrate this new decision. So what I'm seeing, because this is a full moon, as I mentioned, there is some kind of pinnacle. There is some kind of like outburst almost that is showing itself as a result of this kind of energy. And it is in the sign of Libra, and this sun is conjunct Venus. Both Libra and Venus are associated with relationships. While this is not going to be true for everyone, maybe some of you guys, you will have this more so focused towards finances. I do think for many of us, we were going to be having some kind of relationship culmination where we start to realize certain things about a dynamic, or things that have been in a stalemate with somebody, things that have been in this weird limbo period with somebody, will come to a head and will come to a decision and will finally progress in a way in which you can't just look back, or you can't just ignore the problem anymore. So it feels again like some kind of resolution, but because with Mars squaring Neptune, there is a feeling of almost inaction or grief as a result of what's happening. So, as I mentioned, Saturn is conjunct Venus. This is opposite the moon and Chiron. So, whenever I see Venus opposite Chiron, I am definitely getting the sensation of having some kind of painful discussion, painful realization, and again, painful kind of culmination where we have the potential to have great healing, which is really, really nice because we don't want to just have open and festering wounds. But at the same time, the pain associated with this can be quite annoying and frustrating and upsetting, because who wants to go through pain? Nobody. So I think that it's going to pave the way for a new beginning in many senses, and going to be extremely cathartic and healing, and finally addressing kind of the elephant in the room. And at the same time, with Venus opposite Chiron, there's going to be a sense of loss and discomfort around that situation as well. This full moon is also making a sextile to Saturn retrograde in Aquarius. So I think that whatever decisions or culminations do result from this experience, they are likely going to be long lasting, because Saturn is a planet of time, of longevity. And so it feels like a finality, like a decision is being made. Like, okay, this is what's happening and we're committed to this. And that could be committed to working through something painful with somebody. That could be committed to, not ignoring problems in a certain relationship or dynamic. That could be committed to a breakup or to moving on from a friendship or work relationship. I'm definitely seeing here that and this could be financial, like maybe you experienced a financial loss, you're having to face some sort of consequence, and there is kind of a finality to it, like, okay, well, now I can't have this, or there is some kind of consequence as a result that does last into perpetuity. So there's something here with Saturn that makes it a degree more serious, but it can also create more stability within our relationships as well. So I do sense that there is a blessing from all of this, even though it may be quite painful. There's a feeling that we won't make this mistake again, that what we've learned will last with us into time, and our next relationships will feel more stable, or the current relationship, if we're continuing to work on it, will feel much more profound and stable and important in our lives. And so by addressing these things, making these decisions, we will confront pain, we will confront triggers, maybe even childhood traumas. And all of that at the same time is going to result in having more stability in our relationships moving forward. So it's like really reaching this peak or this culmination period, and then this kind of going down, becoming a little bit, sad, and then the energy kind of coming down and stabilizing again. So that's how I'm seeing it visually in my head. The sun is also very loosely trining Mars in Gemini. So I can see that there may be some people who have to really confront a relationship issue head on in a way that feels maybe combative or argumentative or uncomfortable or aggressive. Not that you're doing it in that way, but it might stir up those feelings of, this is a disagreement. We're not really seeing eye to eye. Or if this is around a money decision, it could be causing you anxiety, or there could be something related to finances that stirs up your passions and your excitement, but also kind of has maybe some pain associated with it as well because of Chiron. The great thing about this as well is it's really a mixed bag. I'm not saying like, oh, this is a super painful event and that just sucks and na. No, that's really not what I'm seeing. I'm getting a fuller picture than that. I'm getting a sense that on one hand, we do have this culmination and this painful realization or decision or conversation, but then we move past it, and alongside of it, we're having a sense of hope at the same time. We have Mercury opposite Jupiter. This is really great for zooming out and looking at the big picture consequences of something. And on another note, completely unrelated to this, there may be a lot of creative new ideas coming to you guys. And Mercury opposite Jupiter can kind of give you these downloads about maybe new projects to start. My warning with this is that you can overdo yourself. So you can maybe be overly optimistic about how much you can handle, or maybe you go into a conversation overly optimistic about how things will work out, and it maybe is a little bit disappointing to you. And it can sometimes blow things out of proportion. So if you have an argument, if you have a conversation with somebody, it might be like bigger than you expected. It might make it feel more impactful, or the conversation becomes just larger in some capacity. So it's also going to make you more able to, again, see the big picture, but that can result in skipping over important details. So if you're trying to really get into the nitty gritty of something, Mercury in Virgo is good at that, but the opposition with Jupiter is almost pushing it to kind of zoom out and look at what's really going on here in the grand scheme of things. So you may have the ability to do both, or you may be leaning a little bit more so towards Jupiter side, depending on how you can balance these energies in your chart personally. But if you kind of skew towards seeing big picture, you may be doing it at this time. And there may be important things that in the conversation would be useful to look at, like little details. Or maybe, and then you would miss them. Or maybe this is a sign from the universe that let's not get caught up in all the details of what happened in the past. Let's not go over every little thing, but let's look at the greater archetype of what's happening in our relationship. Let's talk about, the big themes and not, point fingers over every little thing that's ever happened. And then draw conclusions from these larger experiences and how it maybe relates to our childhood. And then that's how many people will likely heal their relationships if something is going on. So, it's like, when you said this to me, nah. It's like, no, when people approach me this way, which is kind of what you did, it triggers this whole theme from my childhood. And that's why I'm experiencing so much pain in this dynamic, and And so I think that this can be, it can be very insightful, but it can be helpful because Jupiter is a helpful planet, but it can also make it a little bit harder to see things like very clearly and specifically and have, it's not as confusing as a Neptune where we're on two different pages entirely, but I think it can be just so zoomed out sometimes that we may miss important details. Okay, I've already talked about that enough. Mercury is opposing Neptune as well within a 5-degree orb, but it's separating. So we mostly experience the confusing part about communication and travel, like the days prior to this. For example, my brother flew home to Florida to take photos of his friend's wedding, and a hurricane blew in, and he was spent all day on the phone trying to get a flight home, and he couldn't. And that's just typical Mercury opposite Neptune kind of stuff. You're confused about the travel plans, how it's going to work out, unexpected things happen. And so this could kind of be the case a little bit with this new moon. There can be a little bit of that feeling of being confused with people and having to kind of work through that. But again, since this is already really more potent the days before this full moon, I feel like it's less of an issue, and it's maybe something that you would have noticed building up to this. You may be noticing that you're trying to resolve something or trying to reach out to someone, and it's like they're not getting back to you, or you're not on the same page, and you're kind of like, what is going on? And then by the full moon, I do see almost like there is some kind of resolution. So things might clear up in some capacity, and they can finally kind of move forward a little bit. Venus is making a trine to Saturn, and this is an implying trine. So I do see that we are in the business right now of crafting our own lives. I got the Spider card, and so this really feels like everyone is having their individual choice right now about what kind of experience they want to have, what kind of life they want to create, what kind of friends that they want to be around. This could feel, again, like very strong manifestation or creation energy. And so what that does is it gives us the sensation that we have some kind of power, some kind of control over our lives. And so maybe things have felt like up in the air and, again, confusing. But I think that this full moon is showing us that we can clear things up, we can make decisions, we can move forward in certain directions, and we have the power to manifest what we want. So if something isn't right in our current dynamic with somebody, we can change that, or we can find different people that align with what we want. And I think that's what that's trying to say. And along with projects as well, with Mercury opposite Jupiter, you could get a lot of new ideas about what projects to pursue in the future. And the Spider card is saying you can manifest it. And I'm getting the sensation or the feeling that the Spider card is, and with the astrology, is not saying that we're manifesting it right now. Yes, this is a creative full moon. It's Libra, Venus. This is all very like creative energy. But I really feel that because Mars is squaring Neptune pretty much exactly, that this is more so something that we're going to experience in the coming months, especially because Mars is about to go retrograde. We're going to be manifesting our realities, but I think it's more so an internal process that's going to be beginning now. And then the external, I think, will start to emerge in 2023 a little bit more. So that's just kind of something to keep in mind, that if you are breaking up, for example, with somebody, and this is showing this realization of like, this is not really what I want in my life. I'm not seeing you all of a sudden manifesting a new partner and finding exactly what you want. What I'm seeing is this process of grief, of letting go, of surrendering to what is, of this process carrying you forward into the future, making progress. And then at some point, when Mars is ready, when it's direct, when it's strong, when it's not an aspect to Neptune in 2023, I think you're going to start attracting those people into your life. And in between them, I think we're going to be working on ourselves as individuals. Who am I? What do I want? What do I have to offer? What do I need to heal within myself? What has this experience taught me? What do I need to integrate from, this relationship ending or whatever this dynamic is for you? If it's a big financial loss or decision, if there's something here that's making an impact on us very emotionally that we're going to likely have to grieve in some capacity or process in some capacity. And so I think we need these next few weeks or maybe few months, depending on your chart, in order to do that. And then I think the spider card will reflect how much we've been doing the work on the inside. So it's like we're beginning our manifestations on an internal level, on a spiritual, on an energetic level, which is totally Mars Neptune. We're beginning our manifestations energetically through our thoughts, through our feelings, through our mind, through our healing. And we're paving the way for something brand new, for something beautiful that will just emerge because of the work that we're doing now. So that's really what I see with that. And I've already mentioned Mars is in Gemini, making an exact square to Neptune. So not only do I think that this has to do with some kind of grieving process, I think it also has to do with emotional release in general, especially because we have Chiron with the moon. There is something that's triggering our childhood wounding that we have to let out. And this can also take away a lot of our energy. We can be quite tired, needing a lot more rest. And we may feel like this conflict that we've experienced with somebody else, or this conflict around our financial situation, has destabilized us internally in some way. And so this is about kind of recouping our energy, allowing ourselves to process everything, and then eventually make way for this new thing, this new person, this new inspiration to come into our lives. So that is what I'm seeing. I hope that resonates. I know it seems like very specific, but that's what I'm seeing. So let's go into the meaning for all of the sun and rising signs. Definitely watch for both. That's what I like to do, but primarily the rising sign is the most important. All right, up first we have Aries Rising. For you guys, this full moon is happening along your 7th and 1st house axis. So the moon itself is in your 1st house along with Chiron, and then Sun and Venus are opposing it in your 7th house of relationships. So you guys might be feeling this kind of relationship dynamic even more than the average person. This could indicate that you are having some kind of definitive ending in a dynamic with somebody, or a really big realization and conversation with somebody about how you feel about something. Maybe you have allowed things to fester or be swept under the rug in some way, and those things are definitely going to come to the surface. If this has somehow happened in the past and you've already directly addressed it, then I think that you're going to feel that you are becoming maybe more independent as a result. You are healing emotionally and relying more on yourself to create the life that you want. I pulled the Queen of Pentacles and the Spider card, so that's also kind of giving me the energy of you being able to heal and stand on your own 2 legs and start realizing what it is that you want in a relationship, what it is that you desire out of your friends, out of your partner. What have you been tolerating or making do with in your life that really feels like it's just not for you? And how can you almost like more so rely on yourself to create and build up your own life, and then eventually attract the person that more matches who you are? This full moon is making a sextile to Saturn in your 11th house. So as I was mentioning, I feel like there's something very solidifying about this relationship change. Or it could be also financial change as well, especially with the Queen of Pentacles. So for some of you, it could be possible that you do have some kind of culmination or opportunity coming in your financial life, But with Chiron, with this full moon, it does give me the sensation that there is going to be some kind of emotional hurdles to overcome, or that there will be great healing as a result of this opportunity. Chiron usually does give me the idea of pain rather than healing. Not that we're not healing, but just that we are experiencing the pain and then we're healing. That's the kind of vibe I get. And so I don't want to be like overly optimistic with this full moon, although I am getting a good feeling about it overall. Even though it might hurt or sting a little bit, I'm getting the feeling that many of us are making like shockwaves in our lives and making big progress as a result of confronting something finally head on in our lives regarding relationships or money, committing to something solid that is going to give you a greater sense of what you want in the future. Saturn is in the 11th house. This is your future planning. So if this is financial, it's like, I'm going to commit to doing this job. I'm going to plan for this for my future, and I'm going to make that decision now and follow through. And if not, it's making some kind of decision that, or resolving something that will change maybe your friendship dynamics or who you're spending your time with, and your sense of belonging in a certain area. That's also a potential as well. I get the sense with the Six of Swords that this could involve some kind of change that moves you. So it's like, I'm going to change this aspect of my relationship, or there's some kind of accumulation or culmination, resolution of something, and then that then brings about a move for me. So I'm moving to a new house, or that's not really what I'm seeing in the astrology in particular, but it's like it's giving me vibes of transition. Like it's getting my engine up and going, to say, no, I want something else. I want something different. I want to make progress in a different area of my life. However, especially because Mars is in the 3rd house, this is like a lot of energy and movement. And yes, kind of like pursuing all these different interests that you have. But you also have this Mars making a square to Neptune, and Mars is your chart ruler, so it's especially important for you. And given that it's squaring Neptune, this does add a layer of confusion, like about where do I go next? Like I'm feeling inspired to make changes in my life, create the life that I want, create inner stability for myself, do things on my own. But then there can be sometimes also a lack of energy. So even though I see motivation and passion and drive, the square to Neptune can also make us at times disappointed in ourselves, or have self-doubt, be discouraged or tired. So it's like I'm seeing both of these things at the same time for you, which is why I got so not confused, but I had a trouble being like, this is what this full moon means, because I'm getting conflicting messages. And this is going to be especially true for you because it is a full moon in your sign. So yeah, I'm really getting that sense for you that there is a sense of a new leaf turning over, and new projects, new excitement, transitions, opportunities, and also maybe uncertainty about how it's going to work out, confusion, delays, feeling lethargic, feeling really inspired one moment and doubtful the next. And so it's going to be very important for you to ensure that you are allowing yourself to move through whatever phase that is. So if you're experiencing times of self-doubt, maybe just allowing yourself to experience that self-doubt in some way, but not sticking to it, not investing into that story, because the square with Neptune is there. It is going to be felt. It's not something that you're meant to just ignore, but it's a square at the end of the day, which does mean that there is some change that we need to have around this. So instead of telling you to ignore that you are experiencing lethargy or grief, you're going to experience it. Allow that to be, but the square may be to just make changes around your investment into that emotion. You know, what are you going to do as a result of feeling like that? Are you going to rest, which is great? Are you going to kind of repeat this cycle and go in further and further into it? You know, are you going to feed into it? Like, what are you going to do with that experience? I think it's really important to ask yourself. You guys also have Jupiter in your 1st house. So there is this time of I think this is part of the reason why there is this contrast. There is this time of building up oneself, being more confident, growing significantly as an individual. And it's opposite Mercury in the 6th house. So you may have some pre-existing commitments. You may have to work, go to school. You're responsible for certain things, or even the basics of taking care of your health, sleeping, eating well. The details of everyday life could kind of feel like I want to, envision my life and set my sights on like what's ahead and daydream about, this beautiful future self. And it might, you have to kind of balance the two, like the reality of where you're currently at with the vision of who you're growing into and the feeling and the progress of who you're growing into. And it's investing energy into both without kind of going into too much of one side. And that might feel like it pulls you apart in some ways during this full moon. You also have Venus in the 7th, which is with the sun, I already mentioned, trining Saturn in the 11th and opposite Chiron in the 1st. So I feel like I already talked about this, actually. I'm not going to go super into that. Okay, let me pull an animal card for... Oh, yeah, I got the spider card for you. Oh, this is what I wanted to do. Sorry, you guys know I'm a Gemini, right? So I hope that you can adjust your expectations of my scattered brain accordingly. Okay, so I did want to roll some astro dice and see maybe kind of the energy that you're going to be up against, or people that you might interact with, or so either what you're going to experience either in a situation or emotionally, physically, or a person and kind of people that you're around could be represented by these three. So I got Pluto, 8th house, and Scorpio, these little dice here. Those are all the same energy, you guys. So you're having a very much purifying, regenerative experience this month, where this is all about letting go to become lighter. Pluto is actually about purging. I'm pretty sure it rules the bowels, at least Scorpio does, and the sex organs as well. So what does that mean here? You're purging something, but also Scorpio rules the sex organs, which is the thing used to create life, to create new. And I got the spider card. I got this card of confidence, the Queen of Wands, the Queen of Pentacles. So I'm seeing you as a result of letting go of something, becoming more confident, becoming more stable, independent within oneself, and moving through this transition with honestly a lot of ease. Scorpio and Pluto don't resist letting go and changing. It's like, okay, I'll throw it into the fire. I know I'm going to be better off and stronger as a result. And so that's kind of the experience I'm seeing. And you may encounter also kind of Plutonian type people who are very psychological and inquisitive and who know the truth about things. So, or that might be yourself this month or this full moon. So that's what I'm seeing for you, my beautiful Aries rising. If this resonates, please let me know by commenting down below and giving me a thumbs up. And please do subscribe. If you want to get a reading from me, check me out at willisboom.com, or you can learn astrology from me there as well. Have a great one. Bye. All right, up next we have my beautiful Taurus rising. For you, this full moon in Libra is happening in your 6th and 12th house axis, which is the moon itself is in Aries in the 12th house. So that's where the full moon is taking place. And then the sun opposite it is in the 6th house along with Venus. So many things to say that are very relevant for you in particular, because Venus is your chart ruler and it's very much, as I said, involved in this full moon. It is hanging out with the sun. On top of this, the moon is hanging out with Chiron, which is an asteroid associated with pain and usually childhood or past life wounding if you believe in past lives. And so what we typically see with Venus opposite Chiron and it being a full moon is some kind of painful experience where we're having to let go, likely of something around the past or something that we don't have control over. The 12th house is a house associated with having to surrender to an existing reality. And so with your chart ruler opposite Chiron in the 12th house, I'm getting the feeling that there's something that you guys are shedding, something that you guys, again, don't have control over, that's just trying to come out of your life. Maybe it's an experience that you're just going to go through, or maybe it's a relationship that is going to end and for you to process it. Maybe it's this transition in your life. But there's something here where I'm definitely getting the sense of letting go, like getting rid of the dead cells of something. And maybe it's, again, happening outside of your control, like when you are barefoot and you walk along the sand. You know, it's getting rid of the dead cells. You don't have to try. You don't have to do anything. It's happening on its own. It's getting rid of the things in your life that are not meant to be there anymore, that are not energizing you anymore in some capacity. And then this full moon is also sextiling Saturn in the 10th house. So there's something about this that's going to help actually stabilize your career, because coming out very soon after this video, I'm going to be doing a whole video on the 12th house. And if there's something that we should know about the 12th house, which is where the full moon is happening, is that it's an energy suck, because any planets here are being held up in a cage in our subconscious mind, which takes an enormous amount of energy without our awareness. So if we want to like suppress our anger and say, I'm not an angry person, then that takes that takes unconscious energy, and that can be utilized within your career. So ultimately what I'm seeing here is that this change is going to allow you to, again, have more stability within your career, your goals, your projects, the things that you are dedicating yourself to as you move forward. Okay, so I pulled some cards for you guys, and I got the 4 of Cups and the 8 of Wands. So this is really giving me that same feeling of I'm saying no to something, or the universe is rejecting something in my life, and it's giving me more energy, more opportunities to move forward. So let's say you applied for a job and you turn it down or you don't get it. It's like, I'm bummed about that. You know, I wanted that job. And then the 8 of Wands is like, well, now you have this way better opportunity, or you have way more energy to dedicate to your business. And, you know, rejection is divine protection. So that's just an example of something that could happen, but it's definitely getting the feeling of like, I'm not getting this thing, or something is being let go of, so that I can focus on more of what matters, more of what's meant to be in my future. You guys also have Mercury in the 5th house in Virgo opposite Jupiter in the 12th. So sorry, I'm just thinking about something that I wanted to add before. There is likely to be like some sort of cathartic kind of pain around this process of letting go. It doesn't feel like, oh, I didn't get the job, whatever. Like, I don't care. I'm just going to go to my business. That's what I wanted to do anyway. It definitely feels like it could be triggering feelings of invalidation. Like, am I not enough? Why didn't I get this job? Why am I not further along in my life or my career? And like, it kind of can give me that vibe of really questioning oneself and your self-esteem, because the 6th and the 12th house axis can be very much prone to anxieties and feelings of self-doubt. So that, I just wanted to warn you guys, if you do have an experience like that, that it's really normal. And there's something here that's, again, going to make a lot of way for you to become a lot more successful and a lot more confident, and have a lot more energy for the things that matter. So even if it kind of sucks for a second, it's a lot better for your future self. And I pulled the Firefly card, which is definitely giving me the vibe of you needing to light up your own light or your own self from within. So giving yourself that encouragement, giving yourself that love, feeling a sense of hope in a time of darkness, not allowing yourself to kind of get too deep down into those feelings of unworthiness, because this is just a moment in time, and it's something that was meant to happen to get you on a very specific path, or to free up more energy for a very specific purpose. Now I'm going to go back to Mercury and Jupiter. So again, Mercury in the 5th opposite Jupiter in the 12th. Jupiter in the 12th is already telling me that you guys are being divinely blessed through spirits. Whenever I see this, I'm seeing this as some kind of time to grow very much inwardly, but also to receive the universe's support in this process of evolution and growth. And so this is part of what this journey is like for you when you have Jupiter in Aries, which I cannot remember right now when it moves out of Aries, but Jupiter is in a sign for a full year. So this year-long process for you is developing your spiritual world, developing your inner world, your faith in the universe, your ability to trust that when one thing doesn't work out, another thing will, which is exactly kind of what's happening right now. But there may be part of the little Mercury mind, which is in Virgo in the 5th house, that is more focused on what you can control and the details of, what is right in front of you and what can I kind of get my hands on and work with and pursue, and what feels like exciting for me to really make sure I'm perfect at it and good at it. And yeah, so it's basically a very different kind of energy, because Jupiter in the 12th gives us the capacity to go with the flow a little bit more. And Mercury in the 5th house can be like that too. But because it's Virgo, it does have this feeling of, like, I am in control of this situation rather than this other entity outside of myself, rather than just kind of going with the flow. So if you notice that you're going too much into one direction of being either too passive or too much kind of having your hand on the reins, it's important at this full moon to create a sense of balance between these two. When is it important for me to surrender? And when is it important for me to take action and take control and take initiative? And taking initiative might not be as clear and obvious as it always is, because Mars is in an exact square to Neptune right now. So Mars is transiting through your 2nd house. You're feeling really motivated to create security and finances for yourself. You may be looking for new ways to do that or developing new skills to do that. But the square with Neptune 11th is saying you may be kind of confused about how that's going to play out, about how the future is going to unfold. Or this could somehow relate to friendships and community. There may be confusion around this area of your life. You may be just less energized, again, having to emotionally process certain things. So overall, there is, again, a balance between taking initiative and surrendering, and then also recognizing that at this particular full moon, it's not the best time to be very decisive about, this is exactly what I'm going to do, this is exactly how I'm going to move forward. Because even though Mercury opposite Jupiter can give you lots of visions about what you would want in your future and can make you very inspired, and so can Neptune as well with Mars, there can also be a confusion about how to go about the details of it, how to actually implement something, how it's actually going to work out. And so it might feel like more inspiration rather than reality at times. And so there's going to be, again, a need to kind of really ground yourself into this particular moment. Allow this time to pass. So allow yourself to just get inspired and dabble and play around and have ideas. And then maybe in the following weeks to start implementing a little bit more, although Mars will be retrograde, which is a whole other thing, which I got into in my Mars video. But I definitely see you guys with the King of Wands and Page of Cups. I feel like this is the Jupiter in the 12th house energy. It's growing in faith and trust in your own intuition. It's growing in your own confidence that these exciting ideas can manifest into something really big and really profound that can take you places long term. And sometimes it's just a little seed of a beginning. And sometimes that little seed is coming as a result of letting something else go. So removing a plant from the garden, and then there's another little seed to kind of put in its place. And then that has a potential to blossom into something really big and really exciting. So I pulled, or I did the Astro Dice for you guys to kind of get maybe an energy for you or who you might be coming up against this month, or this, I keep saying this month. Maybe I should just go with that. This month. And I got the 12th house, which is, again, this house of surrendering. Pluto, which is the ability to let go and transform through that process of letting go. And then Sagittarius, which is the, where did it go? Sagittarius, which is all about our inspiration. You know, what do I feel like I want in my future? So I'm getting very, very strong emphasis with Jupiter in this reading for you guys. I don't know why, but it is relevant to everyone. But I'm getting the feeling that you guys are going to be uplifted after this. Like there is going to be just a lot of support and inspiration and an excitement that comes as a result of whatever you're deciding to let go of. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Taurus Rising. I hope that resonates. If it does, please share your story with me in the comments down below, because this always helps my practice and helps me to see how this applies to each individual. And if you want a reading from me, definitely check my readings out at willisboom.com. I have all types, from natal chart readings to life purpose readings, relationship readings, and so much more. If you want to learn astrology, you can also check my course out there, Astrology 101, and I hope you have a good day. Bye. Up next, we have Gemini Rising. So for you guys, this Aries full moon is happening in your 11th house of friendships, and it's conjunct Chiron and opposite the sun, conjunct Venus in your 5th house. So this could be a time in which friendships and your sense of community and belonging come up for review. And there may be a feeling that there are kind of unavoidable pain and trigger as a result of what is arising to the surface. This feeling that, you know, things are what they are, the situation is what it is, and now we have to make a decision about how to address this. Are we going to try to heal this? Are we going to try to work with this? Are we going to try to move past this? Or are we going to go our separate ways? Are we going to not acknowledge each other? Are we going to decide to just clean the slate? And so I think for many of you, you may experience some friendship breakups or community questions that come up. Anything that has grounded you into feeling like, oh, I belong here, or I used to be friends with this person, or I'm acquaintances with this person. All of those things can come up right now again for your own review. And because Chiron is there, it's like it's usually going to be somewhat emotionally triggering. And I pulled the 10 of Swords, so many of you are going to have an ending that you don't come back from. So either the relationship itself will evolve so much that you realize that it's almost like a brand new relationship, and the healing or whatever you decide to do moving forward transforms the way that you've initially connected with somebody or multiple people. Or you decide, I'm not going to belong to this community anymore. I'm not going to belong to this friend anymore. This is done. We're never going to go back to what it was. So it's like a full moving on process. And then the High Priestess is saying that you guys are very much doing this from a place of your higher self. It's somebody, or it's some part of your intuition and your soul that's actually calling you to evolve into a new friend or new community, or something that's more aligned, something that will grow with you, something that won't provide the same type of discomfort. It's almost like whatever was happening with this individual or this community or this friend, whatever was happening with that, or it could even be a job, maybe for some of you, like, oh, I feel like I belong in this job, or I have these work friends. And then I think, if I'm not mistaken, the 11th house is also like step parents, or step kids. I need to look into that. But regardless, where that particular issue could come up, it's like a feeling that, okay, this situation has really just played out. It has taught me its lessons. I have learned from this pain, and now I'm not necessarily benefiting from this anymore. So the High Priestess is you going within, knowing what is your truth, what is right for you as a soul, even though it might hurt and you might be confused on a more physical plane or more conscious plane. There's something deep down inside of you that knows that this is right. And so that is what I'm seeing with the High Priestess. Just a lot of divine support. And again, the divine feminine, the intuition side of you really leading the way in this process, even though that's not normally what we think of when we have an Aries full moon, which is quite fiery. But Mars is making a square to Neptune. So there is this like divine insight coming in through Mars anyway. This full moon is making a sextile to Saturn in the 9th house. So I think that this is giving you a lot of learning experiences. It's almost rewriting some belief systems in your brain. It's kind of solidifying an idea of your philosophy of life. Like, okay, this is how to navigate friendship breakups, or this is what it means to heal past pain with, community members or work family, things like this. So you're really starting to view life in a different way, and it's almost like permanently etched in your mind how these things can play out. So you're learning and fully growing and evolving from an experience so that you don't have to relive this experience again. Your chart ruler, Mercury, is in Virgo, so very strong Mercury in the 4th house, and it's opposite Jupiter in the 11th house. And I also rolled the astro dice, and I got the 4th house as one of them. So many of you guys might be feeling a little bit more internal right now, maybe wanting to focus and spend time with family, maybe wanting to be by yourselves or process things emotionally, psychologically, kind of deep dive into yourself. So there may be part of you that's just becoming more reflective or family-oriented, home-oriented. But then Jupiter in retrograde in the 11th house is also calling you to grow and put energy into your community dynamics, your friends. So do I want to, how do I want to kind of move past whatever has just happened with this person or with this community? That also is going to require energy from you. So you might feel kind of pulled between two sides of yourself. One side of you that wants to grow with your current friends or with new friends, and then another side of you that wants to just kind of remain in your bubble, focus on yourself, and then do some more reflective processing or with family. We also are having Mars in the 1st house in your sign. So this is kind of a time in which you're a little bit more likely to attract arguments. And it's probably because you're a little bit feistier. You're a little bit more provoking or cutthroat or willing to stand up for yourself and boundaries. And this, of course, will depend on your chart, but just more than normal, whatever that looks like for you. And so I think that you're allowing yourself to experience that kind of more masculine energy. This is your time to be like, no, I won't stand for this anymore. I'm setting this boundary. We can't come back from this. And at the same time, you might be feeling extremely motivated in your career, feeling really driven about, the things that you want to pursue, maybe even physical exercise. Maybe you have more energy for that, or have had more energy for that. However, at this full moon, because it's squaring Neptune, that might be actually making you feel more lethargic at this particular time until this square eases up a little bit. It is exact. So there may be a feeling of like, I am feeling inspired, but I don't know if I want to like actually go out and do everything. Or one moment I'm feeling excited and the next moment I'm feeling uncertain. One moment I'm feeling entrepreneurial and enterprising and wanting to take risks, and another moment I feel scared or like I'm going to make the wrong choice or confused about how to move forward. So you can kind of be grappling with these different parts of yourself. But the best way to utilize this energy is to not force things and to really ride the waves of your energy and your intuition, and just allow yourself to maybe harness the inspiration that can come with Mars squaring Neptune without maybe having to have all of the answers right now. So that's mostly what I'm seeing for you. I also got the Dragonfly card, which is interesting because this gives me like a very surface energy. When I think of dragonflies, I'm like, they're so light, they don't break the surface. And as a Gemini, you're kind of classified as being on the surface, although I'm a Gemini and I don't agree with that. But I guess what this is making me feel like is that with whatever change is happening here, it's giving you your wings again. It's giving you a lightness again. Like, I don't have to be drained by this pain anymore. I don't have to think about this thing anymore. I can just move on. I can create new friends, new social situations with Jupiter in the 11th house. I can flit around and be my Gemini self and connect with others if I want to. And I don't have to be like held down by the kind kind of limbo that maybe I was in with somebody in my life, or the, energy leakage I may have experienced as a result of not addressing something fully. Very strong, like Neptune energy. I did pull Neptune as well on one of these little astro dice. So as I mentioned, Mars is in your sign in your first house until 2023. So it's a long time to kind of gain back your power and your boundaries, and it's squaring Neptune. So you're very much guided right now with this High Priestess and Neptune energy by your intuition. So this is your time, again, as I mentioned, to ride the waves of what's coming in for you. Ride the feelings, the ebbs and flows of the Neptunian ocean. It's not about, Mars wants to direct things. It wants to be the boat on the waves, pushing forward regardless of where the sea is. And there is something like rudderless about this, where Mars loses its engine and now it's a sailboat, and it has to work with the elements and move according to the natural flow of things. And so I'm really getting the sense here that the more that you allow yourself to do that, the better you will actually feel. You don't have to control like the outcome of something. You don't have to have all the answers, but if you can enjoy and release and surrender to the process of the evolution of things in your career and in your relationships, you'll find that it becomes much easier. You don't have to strain. You can trust. You can even manifest through spirit. So very, very useful time for that. The last thing I pulled was Leo. So with Mars in your first house, it's almost a time to be really focused on what lights you up. What's exciting to you? What makes you feel good? What makes you unique? What makes you special? What path do you want to follow for yourself? And so those are some questions that I think can help keep the inspiration going. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say. So Gemini Rising, that's what I have for you. If it resonates, please let me know by commenting down below. I really appreciate any kind of anecdotes about your personal lives. I always read them, even though I'm very slow to respond, sorry. But they actually help my practice a lot. So any comments are very, very appreciated. Of course, liking and subscribing, I also appreciate. If you want an astrology reading from me, check me out at willisboom.com. I have life purpose readings. I have transit reports, which might be beneficial if you're feeling a little bit more confused. So basically kind of like what's coming up in the future, or relationship readings, lots of stuff like that. Or if you want to learn astrology, I also have a beginner's course for you there. So I hope you have a great one. Take care. Up next, we have my beautiful Cancer risings. This full moon for you guys is in your 10th house. So it's a full moon in Aries. If you watch my intro, you know I messed that up for some reason. And this moon is conjunct Chiron. So there is some kind of healing process or some kind of painful realization that can often come through Chiron aspecting this moon. And I was really honing in on this being around relationships. Although for you guys, because this is in your 10th house, this could possibly involve something related to your career. You guys also will have the sun opposite the moon, obviously, it's a full moon, in the 4th house in Libra with Venus next to the sun. So this could also be about your home life, your family relationships. So it is possible to still be about relationships. But for many of you, you may be experiencing some kind of transformation or ending or culmination in the area of your career. Maybe something is winding down. Maybe you had a summer job, for example, or maybe you've had some change in your living situation, or maybe there is just a shift in a family dynamic. Regardless, there is something around the situation that tends to be painful with Chiron. It can also be very intuitive, though, as well. So it can give us insight into exactly what we're thinking, what we're feeling, anything that we've kind of repressed over time, and that has led to discomfort and just maybe not actually achieving what we want, and self-sabotage and all those things. Those things are going to be brought to the surface now. So we're going to have to face directly in a very clear manner. It is an Aries full moon. So we're facing something directly that we maybe kind of push to the side in the areas that I've mentioned. And you guys, I think, are getting a lot more clarity about something, because I did pull the Queen of Swords, and you do have Mercury and Virgo in your third house right now. So I think that you're getting clarity about some process here in your life. Maybe this is some kind of conversation that you're having with somebody, and it's like, okay, this thing with my family isn't working. I'm going to have to change this. I'm going to have to move as a result of this, or I'm going to go through this new career transition. I'm making this decision after talking to this person, and that's that. This could be like you know, quitting your job and going somewhere else. There's lots of different ways that this can manifest, but there's some kind of conversation, decision, clarity coming in here that is going to allow you to make these changes. Mercury is opposite Jupiter in the 10th. So there's a little bit of this part of you that's like, okay, let's have the conversation. Let's think about the details of everything, get into the nitty gritty. And then there's another part of you with Jupiter that's like, well, what do I want in my life, in my career? What's the bigger vision here? And so we're kind of pushing and pulling between this more analytical detail side that's communicating about what's going on, and this other side that's very belief oriented, that's philosophical, that's grandiose, that's imagining what's in your future. Not focusing on the details, but getting excited about the images and the things that could be for you. And so there may be a need to balance the two. You know, how do I balance what is reality, what's current, what I need to focus on, what I need to say, have this conversation, versus planning for the future, getting excited about what's to come, believing in your potential, and all of those things. This moon is also, or the sun is also making a sextile, or the moon is making a sextile to Saturn in your 8th house. So I think that this is a time in which you will start to realize, in particular, if you've had any ways in which you've dimmed your light, I think you will start to recognize that. So maybe any insecurities that have led you to not jump on opportunities. This is an Aries full moon. It's about having confidence. It's about getting your willpower kind of fired up as a result of gassing yourself up, believing in yourself. And so if there's been some ways in your life where you felt like you've been restricted or insecure and uncertain about your capabilities, or even if that was really playing in the back of your head, I think that all of it's going to come to the front now for you to process, for you to let go of, and for you to realize that maybe you were unconsciously just playing it small, and that there's more that you can reach towards, that there's more possibilities and potential for you. And so I think for many of you, you'll be kind of facing these big, maybe emotional crises, so then overpass them or surpass them, overcome them, so that you're not stuck in this little box. And this is really giving me like devil card vibes of I'm chaining myself to this rock and feeling stuck. But it's only because of all your fears of everything outside of you. And so I think that you are starting to realize your own power, and you're starting to get a lot more excited about shining your light, proving your worth to yourself, and allowing that to become visible out in your career or in your goals in life, in the public. And I'm saying that also because I pulled the Peacock card and the Phoenix card. So it feels like you're rising from the ashes and owning what makes you special, what makes you unique, what makes you beautiful. And because you can own those things and you're burning off the insecurities, you're able to then transcend into another level of your life. You're able to then tackle a new kind of goal without letting these little things get in the way. You guys also have Mars in Gemini in your 12th house squaring Neptune in your 9th house. So Mars squaring Neptune in general is going to hold us back energetically. It essentially can drain us energetically is what I mean to say. Not hold us back, but it does kind of slow us down. And it's interesting because I pulled the Chariot card, which is all about speeding up, or at the very least, honing your own willpower in order to kind of continue to go after what you want. And this is good because I think it's going to help balance out your, lack of energy that can come from Mars squaring Neptune. But I think most of this could come in doubting yourself. Like Mars in the 12th house can also feel like you're a little bit less energized. And this can also bring up insecurities or anxiety and feeling like, can I do this? And you might be really motivated to kind of pull away from the world and self-reflect. and the square with Neptune in the ninth is I think connecting you really strongly to God, to spirit, to faith, hope, and optimism. But it's not always landing with Mars. There can be this kind of rubbing up against of your insecurities, the subconscious parts of you that are really wanting to draw back and not push forward. So these things are at odds, and there's a need to again kind of gain the confidence to move forward. So I think you're going to do this through using your intuition. So using your perception through the third eye, especially Mars in the 12th. It's like, I'm not taking action because I've had this set plan and that's what I'm doing. No. Mars in the 12th is like, I'm going to flow through my life right now. I'm going to surrender to where the energy is already starting to go. And I think you're actually going to pick up more momentum that way with this Chariot card. So I think if you can trust your intuition through this process, you'll start to notice that you're breaking down these barriers, these internal walls that have told you can't have more. And instead of breaking them down by, again, having this like really set plan and knowing everything, it's flowing through it, trusting the process, and allowing things to not make sense at times. I think also there's going to be a need to become disciplined. Even with Mars in the 12th, that can feel sometimes a little bit strange. But I did pull a Virgo card, and Virgo has kind of the opposite energy as the 12th house. And I also pulled the second house, which has both of these energies have to do with kind of getting your ducks in a row, getting like making sure that you are doing things that are going to manifest more financial security for you, doing like making sure, because Mercury is in Virgo, making sure that you are kind of doing all the tasks that you need to do, not forgetting stuff because you're caught up in this vision of what's in the future and you're excited about it and you forget to like file your taxes or you forget to mail out that check or whatever it is. It's making sure that you are being disciplined and responsible about the immediate things, because that's going to be important, while allowing yourself to flow a little bit more into the bigger picture things. So the things that are right here that you know that you need to do right now, don't lose sight of them, because that's going to be the building blocks for what is to come, and will help you reach more success. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Cancer. If that resonates, please let me know by liking, commenting down below. If you have any comments that can reflect kind of what you're experiencing at this time, that is very helpful for me, and it helps me see how the astrology plays out in real life. And please don't forget to like or subscribe. And if you want an astrology reading, check me out at willisboom.com. I offer life purpose readings, relationship readings, business readings, and future readings if you're interested. And I also teach astrology there if you're interested too. Have a great one. Bye. All right, up next we have my beautiful Leo risings. This full moon in Aries is happening in your 9th house, and it's conjunct Chiron and opposite the sun, which is conjunct Venus in the sign of Libra in your 3rd house. So lots of energy going on here. I think for many of you, there can be this kind of almost like this existential crisis of belief systems when it's a full moon in the 9th house. And because Chiron is involved, it is almost like awakening to where you have not allowed yourself to fully buy into a certain belief. Or maybe you have, as a result of past experiences, had to kind of adjust your beliefs, and they have come, and at this point they're coming to a culmination. So regardless, you are kind of opening up to a different perspective as a result of things being illuminated. I got the Firefly and the Sun card, both representing light shining on something, seeing something for the first time, awakening to something, being open and receptive to a new idea, which is the 3rd, 9th house axis anyway. And not just saying like, oh, that's a great idea, and like letting it pass. The 9th house is chewing, digesting, integrating an idea until it becomes a philosophy, a way of life, and a way of also aligning your behaviors and your values according to it. And so you are a Leo, right? Leo rising or Leo sun. And so this light for you is even part of your own nature. So I think that this intelligence and this wisdom is coming from within as a result, likely of an experience that you had externally or in a relationship or something. But there's something birthing from within that is illuminating a new idea or belief system that you are going to then be able to adjust your behavior towards. Because this is an Aries full moon, a cardinal sign ruled by Mars, the planet of action and drive. So there is something here that is an impetus to move forward, to change, to evolve. And in that process of changing, I see a cycle ending with this World card, a cycle ending, a new one beginning, a time of celebration. And so this is really, I feel like, a really good time with the Sun and the World card. It feels much more positive than some of the other ones I've been seeing, to be honest, because I'm almost getting the sense that you guys are confronting maybe some other part of yourselves that have been like a little kind of voice in your head about like personal limitations, or there are painful experiences that made you view things a certain way. But because Chiron is with this moon, there's something here that is triggering this change or an opening to this new idea or these new beliefs as a result of discomfort, as a result of being triggered from childhood wounds or some kind of painful situation occurring. So it's not like all good, you know, it's not like, oh, 100% divine download, no issues, because we're all experiencing a transformation or a resolution as a result of some sort of discomfort. And that's going to really vary on how intense it is, depending on your chart and how this aspects your natal planets. But I'm seeing just like a unlocking almost of a new folder in your mind. And as a result of that, you are achieving something. You're able to, again, like start a new chapter with the World card, a new kind of lesson. And that's also what the Sun is. It's about our path, the plot line in our life. The Sun is also your ruler. There's something like opening up here for you in a particular way. And I feel like it's something that you are excited about. It's like you overcoming this maybe period of darkness or uncertainty and you latching on to a new hope or a new faith of something with this Firefly card. Something that you feel like may even give you stability with Mercury in your second house of finances. So I'm really getting the sensation that you're kind of on a new track and you are having clarity as a result of that. This full moon is making a sextile to Saturn in the 7th house. So there is some kind of commitment here or some kind of resolution here that is directly involving somebody else. So this could be a relationship. So you kind of having new beliefs or new path or something set forth as a result of an intimate partnership or a friendship or work relationship. There's someone here in your life that is involved in this scenario and they are a part of this commitment or this decision. So you are either kind of doing it with them or you are like kind of seeing this play out within the relationship dynamic. There's something going on here again with other people. And on top of that, I pulled Libra, or not pulled it, but I rolled Libra. So it's very like relationship oriented already. Saturn's in your 7th. The Sun and Venus are in Libra. So lots going on in terms of relationships, conversations. Maybe you're, again, having discussions with people in your life, and that's what's leading you to like this new path. Like, I'm going to start a business. We just talked about this. I'm doing that next. Or you're right. I've been having this weird thing in my life keep happening again and again. It's because I am repeating this stuff from my past. I'm going to overcome those painful experiences, set new beliefs for myself, and then do this new behavior, have this new way of looking at life. So there's something that others are bringing into your experience. They're enriching your experience through their knowledge, through their wisdom, through this conversation, and through these realizations that they're unlocking within you. And I also pulled the Page of Swords. That's exactly representing everything I just said, so I don't even need to really go on that. As I mentioned, your Mercury is in the 2nd house in Virgo, opposite Jupiter in the 9th. So you are kind of in this phase of, I want to hustle. I want to make money. I want to do business. I want to make sure my future is set. Opposite Jupiter in the 9th house is like, everything's working out. I think everything's great. I'm focused on the bigger picture. So there is a need always to balance here with Mercury and Jupiter. I'm focused on what I'm creating in the future, and I'm focused on my money now. And those different scenarios. So maybe like, not only am I trying to sell to my clients right now, but I'm also trying to create the next workshop or the next product that somebody can buy from me in the future. So there's a need to juggle like the current reality versus the future, the current desire for stability and financial wealth with this future desire to have more, to do more, to not be stuck in the matrix or certain paradigm. So we're having to balance out these two. You guys also have Mars and Gemini in the 11th house squaring Neptune in the 8th house. So Mars square Neptune in general is going to make us more lethargic, a little bit more confused, very spiritually influenced, which is really great. And I did pull the 12th house, so I feel like this is kind of emphasizing this Neptune energy for you, that with the World card and also with the World card, it's giving me this idea of wrapping up a project, wrapping up a cycle, wrapping up a phase, and starting a new one. That's really what the World indicates, are different chapters, different phases. And in astrology, the 12th house is the house of death, not the house of death, but it is the last house. It's the house where, as a soul, we are kind of moving on to the collective consciousness. The 8th house is the house technically of death, but we are reborn in the 1st house. So there is this kind of feeling of like, okay, this cycle is wrapping up right now, and then a new one is beginning. So because I pulled the 12th house, it's definitely giving me the vibe that you are not fully closing one chapter and beginning one at like that kind of consecutive action. It definitely is giving me the feeling of overlap. So, and this is kind of also as touching on Mercury and Jupiter opposition, is there is an overlap between our current responsibilities, our current state of mind, our current reality versus like our future self, the thing that we're working on for later down the line, and the person that we're trying to be. So these two parts of you are having to be fed at the same time. And I think that's what the 12th house is indicating. And I think it's also indicating it's very important for us in this process to trust our intuition about how to balance these, about how to handle our energy, because it, again, can make us more lethargic, about how to make decisions. Basically, all of the things ruled by Mars, we're having to do this in a more Neptunian, kind of gentle, flowy type of approach. I also rolled the sun for you guys. So again, this is a lot of like light energy, the sun, the firefly, which is a lot about illumination, ideas, career path, knowing your next steps. So even though Mars square Neptune is usually indicative of being more confused, I'm getting the sense that you guys are having some kind of very bright awareness about something in your next steps. And then maybe Mars square Neptune is you're not exactly sure the steps that you have to take that you have to apply to get there, right? So it feels like I know where I'm going now, but I don't exactly know which path is the one to take to get to that destination, or the little bumps along the way. What do I have to pack? What do I have to do? What do I have to bring? So it kind of gives me that energy. And Mars in the 11th house wants to have all the answers. It wants to plan ahead. It wants to really know. And then also being Mars in the 8th house is maybe more motivated as well to collect people to help them kind of get what they're looking for. So maybe asking, family for help, or maybe going to your community friends to get whatever. It's like collecting people as resources in order to help you along this process as well. But with the square to Neptune in the 8th, it's not necessarily advisable right now to maybe like take on debt from friends. Like if you're interested in doing something like that, I would maybe hold off on that. And it may be a time in which you have to kind of intuitively move through some of your own sensitivities and uncertainties. And again, just kind of allow that to flow, and maybe not so much try to force things forward, or especially force things forward in regards to shared finances, loans, things to do with the bank. Like, take those things easy. Don't try to figure that out right now. Concentrate on the vision and the immediate things that are going to help you get there. And then those specific areas of your life should wait. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Leo Rising. I hope that resonates. If it does, like and comment down below. I always read your comments, and they are very helpful for me, because they are going to, if you kind of share with me what's going on in your life and how it relates, it really helps my practice. And so I extremely appreciate it if you can do so. And don't forget to subscribe and like as well. I think I already mentioned that. And definitely check me out at willisboom.com if you want a reading. I also have a quiz on there for your planet that best represents you, which is a fun little quiz. And I also teach astrology on my website as well. So definitely check me out, and I hope you guys have a great day. Bye. Up next, we have my fellow Virgo risings. This Aries full moon is happening in your 8th house, conjunct Chiron. So not that fun. I've been rolling astro dice for all of the groups, and I got Aries, Pluto, and the 11th house. So I definitely, my very first reaction is that there is quite a bit of combative energy, power play dynamics, fighting, like aggressiveness in friend groups especially, or disruption to our sense of belonging. So that was like the very first energy that I got from rolling that was, ooh, that's intense. And then I was like, what sign is this for again? Oh, Virgo. Oh, okay, great. Me. That makes a lot of sense. And then on top of that, like the moon in Aries, okay, fine. But the moon in Aries and Chiron in the 8th house can also be kind of unpleasant. And really what I'm getting from this is like purging the sewage, purging the BS, and having to confront our pain, our triggers, our childhood wounding, and lay it all out. And maybe how that's been affecting our relationships, how that's been affecting like our lives in general, and definitely our sense of confidence. I feel like, you know, with Chiron moving through the 8th house, it can already be very obvious where we lack that confidence. And so I think that you guys may be having to make or have difficult conversations about things. Mercury is in your 1st house. It is in Virgo. So you may be having to have difficult conversations about things, kind of navigating these landmines of your wounding and of your triggers and of all that stuff that's kind of coming up to the surface, especially in relationship dynamics. And it's like other people might be triggering those insecurities even more. And with the Sun and Venus in the 2nd house, there is a growth process coming from this. It's going to make you more confident, more self-loving, more stable within yourself if you're willing to do this work. This full moon is also sextiling Saturn in the 6th house, which can already be, you know, a little bit of a contentious house already. But I think ultimately what it's going to do is it's going to help us become more routined, better able to take care of ourselves, knowing like what to commit to, what to say no to, how to hold boundaries, where we want to show up in our relationships, like what roles that we want to play for other people, how we want to be of service, and who do we want to be of service to. So I think as a result of some of these conversations and some of these triggering things happening in relationships, we're actually becoming a lot more clear about those boundaries in our life that are really important to managing our energy, managing our responsibilities. You know, what is mine? What is theirs? What is somebody else's? I think we're getting a lot more clarity around that as a result of having to face these things in this full moon. Some of you could potentially have breakups. The only reason I say that is because I just pulled the 2 of Cups, the Knight of Cups, and the 8 of Cups, which has just strong romance vibes. Like 2 of Cups, Knight of Cups has very strong romance vibes of love and being excited about somebody and diving into them emotionally. And then after that, it's the 8 of Cups, which is about walking away. So if you are kind of uncertain at this moment of time about a certain relationship dynamic, any kind of relationship dynamic doesn't have to just be romantic. If you're uncertain about it, then this may be an indicator as you're going into this reading that it's potential that you will part ways, and likely because you want to. Mercury is in your 1st house. This is an Aries full moon. It's a lot about taking our own initiative and making decisions for ourselves. So I'm really seeing that many of us will be the ones, it might be amicable, it might be both people wanting that. But I'm definitely seeing that there's kind of some separation happening here with you and another individual, which there may have been a lot of emotions there initially. There may have been this feeling of camaraderie or seeing yourself in the other person, especially with this Knight of Cups. Like they're seeing their own reflection in this emotional experience. There's this feeling of like soulmate energy with the Two of Cups, or at the very least closeness, or yes. Regardless, I'm definitely feeling like many people will have some kind of transition in relationship dynamics. It doesn't always have to be relationships, but this is a very relationship oriented moon, so that's the energy that I'm seeing. So you guys, as I mentioned, are going to be having some maybe more serious conversations as a result of this. Mercury, as I mentioned, is in your first house. It's opposite Jupiter in your 8th house. So having to kind of confront things. Jupiter in the 8th house is helping you grow by facing these shadows within you. Mercury in Virgo will likely want you, with the King of Swords, to focus on the details. This is what happened. This is what you did. This is what you said. This is what the text was. This is where we went. This was the day. It's like focusing on the facts, getting the facts straight. So that's Mercury in the first house in Virgo. But then Jupiter in the 8th house is like, this is how I felt triggered. This is what it brought me back to in childhood. This is what emotions came up for me. And so there's a need to balance the King of Swords and the King of Cups energy, the Mercury in Virgo in the first house, the Jupiter in Aries in the 8th house. The ability to look at those deep, watery, shadowy emotions and connect them to what's happening on the surface or in real life or in reality. And bring those out in conversation. Bring those out in your mind. Bring those out in your decision making. So it's like, I'm not just being logical. I'm not just being emotional. I'm having emotional intelligence. And I think that's really where you're going to get the best results, and try not to swing into too much into one or another. Try not to be too reactive with Jupiter in Aries in the 8th. Could be a little bit enhance, make something bigger emotionally. And so Mercury will help ground you into reality and talk about things, but you don't want to be so stoic. You don't want to be like a robot, you know? So you have to kind of try to balance both. Lastly, you guys have Mars in Gemini in your 10th house, squaring Neptune in the 7th house. So you guys might be really motivated right now by career, feeling really driven, feeling really excited. But with this square to Neptune in the 7th, there can be relationships kind of making you more confused about what is coming up in your life or how things are going to go. Or maybe they're taking your energy, because Mars square Neptune is kind of energy draining. So these relationships are requiring a lot of, with Pluto and Aries, facing things head on, transforming them, dealing with the consequences of things in your relationship dynamics. And this might, again, take you away from this career drive. So it's about trying to find some resolution here between these two areas of your life, bringing things on board and trusting also the process, allowing things to flow as they are, not trying to force them ahead in your career. And not try to force people to like work with you or for things to go in a certain direction. It is what it is. And I think that that could be very helpful to tell yourself at this full moon. So that's what I'm seeing, Virgo Rising. If that resonates, please let me know by commenting down below. I really love to hear how it applies to your life, and that helps my practice as well. And if you want an astrology reading, check me out at willisboom.com. I offer life purpose reading, relationship reading, business readings, future forecasts, all things like that. And I also teach astrology there. So I hope to see you there. Bye. Up next, we have my beautiful Libra risings. For you guys, this full moon in Aries is happening in your 7th house. That means the sun and Venus are in Libra in your 1st house, and the moon is with Chiron in your 7th house. So this is a time in which relationships might be undergoing some big transformations in your life. And always a concept when there's a full moon along this axis of what about me versus what about them? What about my needs versus what about their needs? And how do I integrate these two areas of my life? And so that might be something that you're really contemplating right now in a serious way. And with the moon, with Chiron in the 7th house, oftentimes there can be a lot of insecurities that people bring up in our lives. Maybe you have someone from your past coming up and kind of triggering you. Maybe there's somebody that has, like you have unresolved issues with. There's some healing that needs to happen around relationships. There's someone in your life. This could even be talking about someone else in your life. So like your partner going through some kind of painful experience. That's very common with a full moon in the 7th house. So there's someone in your life or you that you are in a relationship with that you are experiencing some discomfort around. And this is something that's not just popped up out of nowhere. This is something that even if it has kind of popped up, it is triggering something that has been there. Or it has always been there, and it's like, okay, now it's reaching ahead. It's time to address this. We cannot move forward until we face these feelings, until we get down to the root cause, which is something I see with this earthworm card. There's almost like going back to the basics, simplifying things, looking at the core of things, like rudimentary kind of things. And it almost feels like this is just a kind of symbolic way to look at it, but this could apply to, you know, one of you out there. But it's almost like you have a relationship issue with somebody and you're like, okay, we're going to talk about this, we're going to work on this, and then you decide that the current way that you've been relating to each other isn't working. Like maybe you've been in a toxic relationship with someone and you realize that spending all this time together is not helping you. And so what you do is you take a few steps back and you're like, okay, we're not going to just dump our friendship. We're going to go back to a basic version of our friendship. Maybe we're going to be hanging out less, talking to each other less, kind of preserving ourselves and what we need for our own happiness and our own success by drawing our energy back to the basics, as I'm mentioning. And this is making a sextile to Saturn in the 5th house. So there may be ways in which you are actually able to establish more joy and like pleasantry among your friends. Maybe you'll enjoy your hobbies a little bit more. Like those areas of your life could be affected. Maybe your sex life can be improved if this is a argument or issue you've been having with your partner. I almost just said father. Oh my God. That's fucked up. Anyway, so there's like ways in which these areas of your life can start to light up a little bit, or can start to become, like you can start to have building blocks placed there and improve. Like if you've been feeling tense around your friends, then this is a time in which you're like, okay, now I feel a little bit better now that we've kind of addressed this issue. Or maybe like you haven't felt desired by your partner. It's like you work on some of those things and now you're building back up towards something really solid. So there's something here in the area, or even with your friends, or even with your children, for example, there's something here that's healing and improving in your relationships. Or there's, by you addressing something in your relationships, it's healing and improving the area of either children, friends, hobbies, social situations, even spending, sex, all the things that I've been mentioning. There's something that's going to stabilize there, solidify there as a result of these efforts. You guys also have Mercury in the 12th house, opposite Jupiter in the 7th house in Aries. Mercury and Virgo in the 12th house, I think is going to help you maybe see things from a different perspective. With this Hanged Man card, Mercury in the 12th doesn't really, even though it's strong in the sign of Virgo, it doesn't have its full energy capacity because it's in a hidden house. But what it does have is a more reflective capacity in terms of our subconscious, our past life wounds, our childhood stuff, like the stuff that's been really deeply buried down under. Mercury is now in those depths. Mercury is now like a little submarine. It doesn't have its same information. It's not a plane flying around looking at everything, collecting information. Now it's in a totally different part of your consciousness, and it has that new insight, this new depth that it can bring to the surface. And so the Hangman card to me is saying that you are getting a different perspective with Mercury here. And opposite Jupiter in the 7th, I think this is going to help balance out your, like what you're receiving from these individuals. So, okay, there's a few things coming in here. So first of all, let me address the cards and then I'll get to that. So Mercury in the 12th, as I mentioned, change your perspective, get deeper insights, more intuition about what's happening. You might not be like, this thing happened on this day. You might just be like, I feel that something is off here. I feel that I need to address something, but I'm not quite sure exactly what happened or exactly what's about. And this is going to be with the Six of Cups linked to this Chiron moon. This is going to be something that's like, this is around my childhood. This is around a past memory, a past pain, something that was, again, deeply buried. There's something intuitively being brought to the surface, although I might not always pinpoint it very well with this Mercury that's coming up in this dynamic. And with Jupiter in the 7th, it's how am I going to then kind of relate this and transmute this bigger idea to this person in my life? How are they going to understand what my internal experience is? And with Mercury opposite Jupiter, it may be a little bit hard. We have to kind of bridge the gap of that understanding. And also they may be coming at us with certain things of like, this is what I need, or this is what I went through. And so you're starting to see their perspective, but you don't want to be too drawn into that. You still want to feel yours. So it's about really balancing everything here in order to kind of get the most accurate picture of what is really going on. You guys also have Mars in Gemini in the 9th house, making a square to Neptune in the 6th. So this is big energy here. So Mars in the 9th house is good. Mars in the 9th house is getting us motivated to learn more, to do more, to become the better version of ourselves, especially through education. And then the square to Neptune, the 6th, may be saying that you have existing kind of responsibilities or things going on, maybe existing work that is, or existing work that you have to attend to, or even health conditions or anything along those lines that could be taking away from your ability to kind of grow yourself and study new things. And so this square here is asking you to maybe not push so hard, but also try to find a way to flow with both of these areas of your life. How can I find a way to confront go along with my existing responsibilities and make way for learning this new thing, reading this new book, taking this new course, going on this trip? Like, how can I make room for it all? And you might feel a little bit drained as a result of having these at a square. The Six of Swords definitely indicates this, like this transition or move, like it's like a little bit of busyness. The Six of Swords definitely has like travel vibes. So if you are trying to like travel and work at the same time, that definitely would make sense. And yeah, so I feel like there's something there that you're trying to, with the Four of Pentacles, establish some kind of financial security. Like, I'm working for my dollar. I'm making sure that I have money for my future. But then the Six of Swords is like, I want to move forward ahead into this new chapter. I want to transition. And it's like you having to make certain sacrifices or certain decisions in order to bring these both together. Not one of them can fully be, take the reins and take over, because there's something about you that needs to be solidified. So it's like you need to have your foundations and be able to move. You need to have money and be able to step into some new venture. So there's something about juggling both. And I also rolled the second house here. So it's definitely giving me emphasis on money. Gemini, emphasis on having these important conversations, and also the Mars energy that I've already talked about. And then Jupiter, I mean, these are kind of just emphasizing things I already talked about. But Jupiter is definitely in the 7th, is giving me the sense that you guys are definitely growing in your relationships. Things are improving in your relationships as a result of confronting things head on with this Earthworm card, as a result of confronting things that are deeply buried inside that have been part of your foundation as a child with the Six of Cups. Something that was there way, way, way back when is all coming up now to the surface to be fully addressed. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Libra Rising. If that resonates, please let me know. You can comment down below how this might pertain to your life and your experience, because that really helps my practice, and I read every single comment always. And if you're interested in a reading, check me out at willowsmoon.com. I have a ton of stuff on there, and I hope you have a great day. Bye. Next, we have my beautiful Scorpio rising. For you, this Aries full moon is happening in your 6th house, and it is along with Chiron. So the moon is conjunct Chiron, which can bring about needing to kind of face some painful situations, or especially for you, have some painful conversations, which we'll talk about in a second. But it's interesting because, well, really quick, this is a full moon, which means that the sun is opposite the moon in the sign of Libra, and the sun is conjunct Venus. So Venus is opposing the moon in Chiron as well, which can bring about like discomfort and pain in relationships, and certain situations regarding that. So before I go into that, though, I did want to talk about these astro dice that I've been rolling for each of the groups. They have the sign, the planet, and the house. And for you guys, before I even saw anything, I just rolled them and I got Pluto 10th house Leo, and I was like, this is big dick energy. This is like, I want to be seen. I want to make an impact. I'm transforming my career. I'm growing in self-confidence. I'm owning who I am. I'm leveling up in this really big way in my place in the world. But then I pulled the rabbit card, which is really small energy. You know, the rabbit's fearful, the rabbit's running around, the rabbit's nervous, the rabbit doesn't know if it has what it takes to survive. And that's such different energy that I got from rolling the dice and pulling this card. It was like this immediate, like, oh, like a drop in energy, you know? And so there might be something going on here in regards to that, where there may be some evolution that you're going through into this big dick energy. I'm just going to say BDE from now on. And in this process, you may have to confront what makes you feel small, what makes you feel nervous, like the rabbit, what makes you feel like you don't have your ish together, or you're not doing good enough, or you're not as capable, or comparing yourself to others. And this is a full moon in the 6th house, which is a house of disparity. You know, it's a house of hierarchy. So we are very aware of how low we are on a totem pole in the 6th house. We are very aware of how we're just a cog in a machine, or just part of a group that is creating something. We're not as powerful in the 6th house. This is one of the weaker areas of our chart. And so there may be ways with Chiron here in which you have been dominated by insecurities, or not feeling as empowered as you actually could feel empowered. And this can bring about anxiety and even sometimes physical or psychological unrest. Because the 6th and 12th house axis tends to do that. This is psychosomatic illnesses, things that physically emerge and mentally emerge and are intertwined together. And it's often because we are worrying about things that are outside of our control, or we're feeling like we're not good enough. And these constant thoughts and anxieties can accumulate in the body into some kind of illness. And so you may be really confronted with something in regards to this at this full moon. And with the sun and Venus in the 12th house, I feel like Spirit is asking you to, first of all, to surrender to what you don't have control over. Maybe there is some element of divine timing. Maybe there is something about, you know, your environment at work, or with friends, or with your partner. Maybe there's something in your life that feels like you don't have control of the situation, or there's a lot of unknowns or lack of clarity. And it can feel like with the full moon in the 6th, like we want to hold on and we want to predict and we want to be nervous about everything and figure everything out, because we want to avoid getting hurt, or we want to avoid things going wrong. But with the sun and Venus in the 12th house, it's about letting that go. It's about releasing and surrendering to what we have, again, no control over, but feeling empowered in the ways that we do have control. Establishing that BDE in our career, over ourselves, over our bodies, over our minds, and realizing that we are very powerful within ourselves. And so I feel like you guys, especially because this moon is making a sextile to Saturn the 4th, I feel like you guys are becoming more emotionally settled as a result of the transformation that this moon is bringing up within you. So those feelings of uncertainty, those doubts, that feeling of inferiority you might experience when comparing yourself to others, those things are needing to be confronted right now head on, to have difficult conversations with people, to have difficult realizations and conversations with yourself, and to have these breakthrough moments so that you can stabilize your emotional center and feel like you have some solid sense of self and an internal locus of control. Mercury is in Virgo in the 11th house, opposite Jupiter in the 6th. So that's why I'm like, there's something going on. Also Venus opposite Chiron. There's something going on with the relationships. We may have to have certain conversations. That is a potential here with this, especially because I pulled the Page of Swords, the Ace of Swords. These could all be about, difficult conversations that we have to have. Or it very well could be just decisions and ideas coming to you, especially because Mercury in the 11th house is very future planned, very future oriented. So it could be about you having a conversation with a friend, or it could be about you having this amazing new insight about what to do next. And opposite Jupiter in the 6th, it's going to feel like it's kind of the solution to the problem. But again, there's still a need with Jupiter in the 6th house to confront the existing turmoil, the existing feelings that could make you not self-sabotage, but that could prevent you from fully reaching this capacity of the goals, of the desires, of the plans, as a result of you maybe not acting or holding yourself back in some way. So I see that there needs to be a balance between future planning and also kind of healing and taking care of what is going on internally within you now, and then maybe needing to address certain conversations with people if that is something going on as well. And I see with the World card, it's like there's a completion going on here. As a result of having this idea, as a result of having this conversation, there is a full circle moment. There's like a reward that comes from this. And so I feel like you guys are going to be very satisfied once you do confront whatever it is that is, whatever those two aspects it is in your chart. You guys also have Mars and Gemini in the 8th house squaring Neptune in the 5th house. So this is a little bit like the warrior who's willing to dive deep into their psychological recesses and see, what is it that I've been hiding from myself? What is it that I haven't been facing? What part of my insecurities have I let dominate me? And even within relationships, how have I been fearful to be vulnerable and sincere and raw with others? And Mars is willing to combat that. Mars is willing to dive into that and is not afraid necessarily of kind of facing the crisis, facing the shadows head on. But with the square to Neptune in the 5th, there can be this competing desire to keep things kosher, to keep things feeling good, to dive into your worldly pleasures or to your hobbies, or to focus on the relationships and things that are going right. And so this can drain or take away the energy of your courage to face some of these aspects of yourself. Because I'm getting the feeling like you have a lot to benefit from confronting head on what it is that's holding you back and giving you anxiety. But I get the feeling that many of you have been like wishy-washy about really facing this. Like part of you with Mars in the 8th house wants to face it head on, but then with the Neptune in the 5th house square, there's a part of you that also kind of doesn't really want that, or is losing that stamina, like losing the motivation to follow through completely. And so there's going to be a need to balance both. Like, how can I still pursue the things that I really love? How can I still feel really good and do my hobbies and go out with friends or whatever it is that you want to do, and do some of this deep inner work, talk about this uncomfortable stuff, like trudge up things from the past that I kind of want to be left there. How can you do both, basically? So that is what I'm seeing for you, Scorpio Rising. I hope that resonates. And if it does, please let me know by liking and commenting down below. And if you're interested in a reading from me, definitely check me out at willowsboom.com. And I hope you have a great day. Bye. Up next, we have my beautiful Sagittarius Risings. For you guys, this full moon is happening in your 5th house, and it is in Aries, conjunct Chiron, and that means the sun is opposite the moon in the 11th house and conjunct Venus. So really what I'm seeing here for you is almost the feeling that I get is around making some kind of sacrifice. And this is not a sacrifice that means that you can't get what you want, but it is a sacrifice of maybe you can't get what you want right now so that you can get what you want later. And with the moon and Chiron and Aries in the 5th house, I feel like there's something that you are needing to pursue immediately. There's something that's like immediately drawing your attention, and it doesn't even have to be something really important or really responsible. Although for many of you it likely will be, but for some of you guys it might just be like, I have travel plans, or I just met this new boy, or my children really need my attention, or I really want to develop this artistic skill and write this book that I said I've been wanting to write, or I really want to like learn this new skill or work on my business. So these different facets of your life are really like these different ways of creative expression, something that you feel is some kind of light within you that's calling to be expressed outwardly. That is where you're having your attention right now. That is where things are pulling. But then with the Sun and Venus and Libra, there's a very social side of you. There's maybe part of you that wants to create like a community, that wants to feel like you're making a sense of belonging. But this almost has to kind of maybe be sacrificed in some way, or less, like have less resolution in this area, or not resolution, but like less attention in this area because of these more immediate things that are calling on your attention. And this moon is also sextiling Saturn in the 3rd house. So there are ways in which these decisions will impact your future. You know, knowing how to manage your time, making hard decisions and having hard conversations, those things will impact your future actually long term. And so there may be something about the 5th house that's saying there is a call within your heart that's being expressed for you. It's an Aries full moon. So something that's like very independent. Like, what do you need to do for you in order to make something happen? You may have to disregard other people. You may have to say no to social situations. You may have to feel more disconnected socially or from your community in order to do the best thing for you in this moment. Whatever that is, it's going to be different for everyone. With this Queen of Pentacles, for many of you, it's something around earning money and something around creating financial independence or creating a home, something that is going to solidify you into your current state or make you feel like you can stand on your own 2 feet. But there's something that you got to do for you. You got to make hard decisions, have hard conversations, pull yourself away from your community, even though that's what you want long term as well. And then kind of sacrifice that so that you can eventually make your way back to it when you have what you want, when you have established this inner security within yourself. And there's definitely a need to focus on career as well. You have Mercury in the 10th house opposing Jupiter in the 5th. So there's part of you that needs to grow in this more immediate way to follow this passion, whatever this new thing is coming up for you or this existing thing. And then at the same time with Mercury in the 10th to also focus on your career, your life goals, these big phases of your life. If you're moving house or getting married or having a kid, focusing on those and focusing on whatever it is I need that to express right now for myself. And with Chiron in the 5th here, you may have to, with the moon, you may have to combat some storylines that are used to sacrificing yourself for belonging. So, you know, or downplaying like the impact that your particular voice has, or that this particular passion or idea or relationship has in your life. Like, let's say, for example, you're trying to start your own like side hobby of doing art while you have a job or something. And this is going to grow into something. This feels important to you, but maybe you've downplayed it and you have told yourself like, I'm not actually good at that. I'm not as skilled at that as I think I am. I'd rather, you know, distract myself by hanging out with my friends. It's like you're not fully owning what is unique and special about your gifts and investing into that, allowing that to shine. And this can be even in regards to a relationship. Like this could even be with your children, for example. If you do have children, maybe there is ways in which you hold yourself back actually a little bit from your children. Ways in which you could express more confidence around them, express more of this kind of big energy of like, this is how amazing I am. This is what mommy's unique gifts are, daddy's unique gifts are, and things like this. It's creating this strong sense of confidence and inner security and then outer security as well. And those things may have been sacrificed for others in some capacity. And then you might become aware of that during this time, because Chiron tends to bring up things from the past that we need to face. So with the mouse as well, you could have been like overly focused on all of your flaws and worried so much about like being a perfectionist that it doesn't allow that creative energy to just flow out of you. Like, I've always wanted to be an artist, but I'm going to focus on every little thing I'm doing wrong. And it's like, you're not going to produce as much art. You're not going to do as much because you're just too wrapped up in your own head. I also pulled the Virgo, or rolled the Virgo dice, and you have Mercury in Virgo right now in your 10th house. So it's really about needing to balance this whole perfectionism with like inspiration and flow that's happening in your creative ventures or in your relationships or in your hobbies, or in your career. It's like, how can I balance being both detail oriented and trying to do my best without being too like zoomed in on details that I become overly critical and can't move forward and can't make consistent progress. So there's multiple layers of things going on here. That's one of them. And then another one is where maybe you could have allowed yourself to get distracted by other people in your life and other things going on in your social setting that you didn't even allow yourself to like fully take all your energy to invest in the things that make you you and make you happy and are your gifts. So there's a need right here to go within with this Four of Swords and Hermit card and heal this part of yourself that's become way too meticulous, that has not allowed yourself to own how beautiful your innate gifts are, that has not allowed yourself to fully invest in whatever those gifts are or those interests are. So it's a time, again, of reflection about yourself in ways that you've really held yourself back or kept yourself small, and especially if there are relationships that can somehow contribute to that, where they are like the scapegoat, or they're like the reason why you don't believe in yourself, or they are the way that you distract yourself or anything like that, because this is a very relationship oriented full moon. And then lastly, you have Mars and Gemini in the 7th house, square Neptune in the 4th house. So there is a strong motivation with Mars in the 7th house to be very relationship oriented. And this is not what I was saying before. I was like talking about your community, your belonging, social settings, things like that, and how that could be distracting you from developing things that really interest you and going inside and kind of confronting your perfectionistic tendencies and all that. The 7th house is not necessarily a group setting. It's a one-on-one setting. It's an individual relationship with someone important to you that is already established, that you are pretty motivated about investing your time and energy into. So you have Mars in Gemini 7th house, which is indicating that motivation towards one particular person in your life. But with the square and Neptune in the 4th, this person, you may be having a conflicting desire of needing to go within and desiring to like be with this person, or desiring to connect more with this friend or this loved one or this partner. So there is a need to kind of balance both, or find a way to bring your partner or that friend into your internal world for this self-reflection. Because in order to create this healing process, in order to become less perfectionistic and to become actually more abundant, more confident, more secure within yourself, you have to reflect. You have to have a little bit of time alone, or have like that person in on the reflection process with you. So you don't want those two areas of your life to just like take away from this process. So that is what I'm seeing for you guys. If that resonates, please let me know in the comments how that relates to your life, because that's super helpful for me. And if you want a reading from me, definitely check me out at willisboom.com, and I hope you have a great day. Bye. Okay, up next we have my beautiful Capricorn risings. For you guys, this full moon in Aries is happening in your fourth house, and this full moon or this moon is conjunct Chiron. So, definitely having to address past emotional patterns that have to do with family, kind of how we were programmed to believe about things. And I've already pulled a bunch of cards for you, actually like way too many cards, but I wanted to keep clarifying because I wanted to get very clear on what this message was for you guys. And I can see already right off the bat what it means with Chiron being in the fourth house with the moon, that you guys are having to overcome familial patterns or childhood patterns that have instilled within you this idea that you have to fight for your life, that you have to fight to exist, that you have to fight to survive. Capricorn on the rising can represent maybe a more, it depends on what's going on with your Saturn, but it can maybe represent a more laborious kind of birth or entering into this world. And that can carry over with you into different ventures in your life and how you take action and initiate things. There can be this sense of, I have to try really hard. There's a lot of effort. I have to endure, which is all very Saturnian type of energy, which is the planet that rules Capricorn. And so this feeling of having to endure, to push, to strive, almost to suffer to some degree, I think that this is being rewired within you. And it's, again, coming back from a very young age, all the way back to maybe how your family taught you things. Maybe they worked very hard and they endured. And so you learned that from them. Or maybe they were absent and you had to really pick it up the pace and take care of yourself and take up a lot of responsibility for a young age. There's something here that has been imprinted or ingrained within you that struggling is how you survive and reach success. And I think, again, that's being rewired in you at this time. It's being overcome, likely through some kind of painful situation or an emotional revelation. There is something in you that's like, oh, I don't have to keep striving in this way where it feels like I'm pushing a boulder up a hill. The sun is opposite the moon in Chiron, obviously, because it's a full moon, and the sun is in Libra and conjunct Venus in your 10th house. So there's something that's being born for you in your career sector, in your goals for your life. I think that you guys are meant to be coming more into your own essence, into what makes you unique, becoming more confident in yourself, kind of owning how powerful you are, how amazing you are, how much willpower and discipline you already have, and how far that's already gotten you in your life, and how it will get you to your next set of goals in your life. And so there's that part of you. And then there's also this child part of you that's like, I have to do it all on my own. I can't receive support. Things can't be easy. I have to push. I have to strive. And this moon is making a sextile to Saturn in the second. So some of this stuff is really rooted in our, not only our confidence, but also our money situation, which those are both the same. It's like basically the inherent value we see within us, the value that we see externally as well, and how this is going to undergo a shift as a result of these feelings. Maybe your money situation can actually become more stable as you realize it's okay to receive, as you realize it's okay for you to recognize how amazing you are and be confident, and take up space and not have to struggle and strive. I feel like you guys are going to really start to notice that things begin to stabilize financially and that you're provided for as you trust in the process more, enjoy in the process more, and not feel like you need to push and push in order to get somewhere, because this ingrained belief is almost so deep in your subconscious that you might not even know that you've been doing it. And so I think that you're really going to start to see some massive endings here around the worry, around, the worry that has honestly also contributed to your lack of progress and to your procrastination, which is ironic. It's like, the feeling that I have to be perfect, that I have to strive, that I have to endure, being hard on yourself, all of those things have internalized as worry, anxiety, fear, and that has resulted in procrastination and actually less of what you want. And so as you start to heal those things and allow yourself to receive and flow and just experience some sort of ease in your life, I think you're going to notice that again, your finances and your confidence become a lot more stable. And it's almost like the Chinese finger trap, where the more you pull, the tighter it becomes, the harder it becomes. And I feel that there's been a lot of resistance with life because you have actually had to step up and be really like have that resistance in your childhood. You had to endure in your childhood in order to survive in some capacity. There was a way in which you needed to be hardened. There was a way in which you needed to, work your butt off. But now you have learned those lessons. You've learned how to work really hard. You're doing that within your career. You're amazing. You're going after your goals. You're doing the damn thing, but you're still having those feelings along with it. So it's like you've already learned the lessons, you've taken the nuggets, but you haven't let go of almost like the trauma around it of, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. It's like, yeah, to a certain point, that actually can be useful because it can push you towards the realization of, where you maybe need to improve, and reality of like, I'm not perfect from day one. I do have to improve. I am not good enough from day one to just go out and do something perfectly. But now you've actually advanced really well into something, and now that voice is becoming overly critical. Now it's not useful anymore. Now it's actually holding you back and doing quite the opposite. So what I'm seeing here is actually definitive ending with this Aries moon. There's some kind of, again, revisitation of that pain or painful experience that can bring this all up, where you're like, I'm done with this. I'm done with this voice. I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to recognize my uniqueness, my power, my individuality, my willpower, especially like the way that I make things happen, my confidence. And it's from there that you're able to start going after what you actually want in life from a totally different perspective. Not going after it from a sense of whipping yourself or shaming yourself or fearing what you would become if you didn't do this, or what would happen to you. It's like, no, I want this thing. I desire this thing. I'm confident. I'm great. I deserve it. I'm going to work towards it and like make it more of a process of ease and inspiration rather than, the opposite. And I think that's going to, again, create a lot of stability for you in your life. You also have Mercury in Virgo in the 9th house, opposite Jupiter in the 4th. So there's a sense of being very inspired here, driven by ideals, wanting to reach this kind of perfect ideal, which is not bad. But it also needs to be checked with Jupiter in the 4th house, where you are okay with who you are. You're okay with where you're at in this moment in time. And you're going to strive for that amazing version of yourself, but it's going to be from a place of loving yourself and needing to balance these two. You also have Mars and Gemini in the 6th house, squaring Neptune in the 3rd. So Mars in the 6th house is Mars likes to be in the 6th house. First of all, it's very strong here. And so it's driven towards success. It's driven towards hard work, towards labor. It knows exactly what it needs to do to get up every day, to have a routine, to be disciplined. And so there's something here that's like, yes, I got this, but it's squaring Neptune in the 3rd. So it's actually that the way that you're dissipating energy or becoming less confident and getting more tired is actually through your brain, through the thoughts that you have, the insecurities that you have, the things that you tell yourself. And also, there may be ways in which you become too distracted also, and this is kind of part of the procrastination thing I was talking about. If you're too hard on yourself and you're shaming yourself and trying to be perfectionistic, what I'm seeing here is that your brain is then avoiding this, escaping this, which is very Neptune energy, by becoming distracted, maybe social media, maybe little chores around the house, maybe having a conversation with a friend, like very 3rd house matters, very like what's in front of me. I'm stimulated by it. And then Neptune is about escapism. So I'm going to escape through these things right in front of me. So you're dissipating your energy this way, which is not that big of a deal, but ultimately it's not helping you progress in your life. So this square with Mars and Neptune is saying, how can I be less perfectionistic? How can I strive for success, but without the kind of rigidity of it having to look like this and be perfect all the time? And your brain, by procrastinating and trying to find stimulation in those things, is trying to find an outlet for the stress and the pressure that you're putting on yourself. So what if you could find that when you're in the flow of doing something, like just allowing yourself to enjoy it and not having that pressure of the perfectionism, and have that kind of like outlet and flow in the process of it. So that's what this square is trying to get you to do. And so I hope that's making sense. That's what I see for you guys. If this resonates, please let me know by liking and commenting down below. If you are commenting, I would love to hear how this applies to your life. That always really helps my practice. If you want an astrology reading, definitely check me out at willisboom.com, and I hope you have a great day. Bye. Up next, we have my beautiful Aquarius risings. This full moon in Aries is happening in your 3rd house. And let me just see. Okay. I've been rolling this astro dice as well to kind of get more information for people, but I accidentally flipped one of yours over. Okay, so as I mentioned, it's a full moon in Aries in your 3rd house. The moon is conjunct Chiron, so definitely bringing up some kind of wounding, some kind of thing from the past that we're trying to resolve or that we need to move past. Maybe some lack of confidence, difficult conversations, childhood woundings typically. It's opposite the Sun and Venus in Libra, so Sun and Venus conjunct. So definitely a lot of relational stuff going on here. And maybe even, especially for you guys, since I'm pulling some relationship-oriented cards as well. So whatever I'm seeing with the moon and Chiron in the 3rd house is there needs to be, it's almost like we need to overcome certain beliefs or thought patterns that we have, certain things that we tell ourselves, certain ways that we view life or view the world that are not accurate. And I pulled the Cosmic Egg card, which has a lot to do with fragmentation, feeling separate from society, maybe even separate from the source of divinity or from the source within ourselves. Basically feeling less powerful and less connected as a result of feeling like we're separate or other in some way from our brotherhood all around us, or our like the universal consciousness all around us, the things that we're part of, the nature, the world, feeling like we're somehow separate from that, or we don't belong in some way, which actually tends to be the plight of Aquarius. It tends to be this feeling that I am different, people don't get me, I'm somehow don't belong. And so what I feel like is happening with this moon Chiron in the 3rd house is a healing around this and a realization that we are more in union, that there is more of a connection with us and others. And with this Queen of Swords and this Two of Cups, I almost feel like maybe through one particular relationship, it could be multiple ones, but it looks like, because there's 2 people here, it looks like through one particular relationship, a conversation that you're going to have with somebody, or an exchange, or an idea around this person, if it's unspoken, is going to be that you belong. It's going to help you heal from some of these other stories that you've been telling yourself that are not actually accurate. And so I feel like that's what this is all about here, is it's bridging that gap between me versus them, the world, and then I'm on my own, the universe, and then there's just little old me. So I feel like there's, again, a healing process where you're diving deep into more of the universal consciousness, the spirit, the connectedness of you to that person, you to your environment, you to the world, in a really, really beautiful way. And I pulled the Pisces in 11th house with these, or I rolled them with these things and these dice. So I feel like that's, again, kind of iterating exactly what I'm saying. I belong to this community. I belong to the spiritual world. I am sensing my union with what's around me. And Pluto, which is indicating a transformation, a facing and letting go of our fears. So I feel like we're going to have to go into the fear in order to come out the other side feeling like we do belong and like we're transformed as a result. This full moon is also making a sextile to Saturn in the 1st house, which I've been saying is creating a lasting change. And this lasting change is within you. It's within your foundation, your being, your way of perceiving yourself, the way of perceiving life. And so I think that this is going to be an important full moon for you guys in particular. You also have Mercury and Virgo in the 8th house opposing Jupiter and Aries in the 3rd house. So you will go on this journey to discover what it is within you that you have felt uncertain or insecure or traumatized from past events, likely the latter, where people have hurt you, where the fragmentation first occurred, where you first realized, I'm not always loved. I'm not always accepted for who I am. I have to be different, or I can't rely, I can't trust, I can't be vulnerable. I can't fully open up to people. I can't feel like I belong. Those things are going to be things that you dive into. And again, with this Pluto energy, you're going straight into them and transforming them. You're regenerating this area of your life, transmuting it into something that's going to give you lasting change in your mindset. So you're coming into those depths, those Hades depths, the shadows within, and then re-emerging to adjust your belief systems with Pluto in the third house, and reflect that within your daily life in the way that you perceive situations and talk to people. And then as you talk to people in a different way and perceive life in a different way, it will reaffirm these new beliefs. And so you don't have to, you just have to change from within. And then you'll notice that your external circumstances will adjust accordingly. You guys also have Mars and Gemini in the 5th house, squaring Neptune in the 2nd. This is interesting. I feel like there's a whole kind of other plot line going on that has to do with feeling maybe financial lack at this time, or feeling like you don't have as much of what you want in some way. Whether this is like, I'm realizing that I'm connected to everyone, but I feel like I actually don't have enough friends, or I feel like I don't have enough money, or I haven't been as careful with these areas of my life. Maybe I've been, spending too much, or not hanging out with my friends as much as I would like to. But it just feels like there is a sense of disappointment or a little bit of lack in this area. Luna, leave the cat alone. Sorry, my dog likes to chase my cat, Merlin. Let me pull a card to clarify this. Because Mars in the 5th can make you very passionate. It's like, I'm very driven to create music and to work on these different projects for myself and all this exciting stuff. But I get the feeling that with the square to Neptune in the 2nd, there's something that's like taking away your energy or your attention from focusing on that, which might be your mismanagement of money, or feeling like you don't have enough money. It's like preventing you from maybe hanging out with friends or doing the things that you want to do. Okay, that's what I'm seeing here. That's what I'm seeing. I feel like you have lied to yourself about financial management and like not been like clear with yourself and had the right self-control with money. And as a result, or possessions or something, or confidence, but I definitely feel like it's money. And as a result of that, you haven't had, maybe like, now you don't have as much time to invest into the things that you want to invest into. Like, let's say you want to buy a house and you're like, man, I spent way too much money on these things. And I feel like there's a sense of regret here coming in around how you handled things in the past. So this feels like kind of unrelated, but maybe somehow related. Yeah. Okay. That's probably, I guess I don't want to end it like that. Let me get a card for you about some like spirit's advice for this situation in particular. I have the bee card, the cheetah card, the lion card. That's very clear. The bee, what's a bee do? The busy bee, the worker bee. So you guys are going to have to work a little bit harder now and a little bit faster now. A little bit harder now. A little bit faster now. Okay. So the bee and the cheetah are saying you have to pick up the pace, work more hours, work quicker, be more efficient with certain things in your life because of maybe ways that you've slacked off in the past, so that you can enjoy what you want in the future. But even more important, the lion card is about being proud of who you are, owning who you are, owning your strengths, owning your worthiness. And this will help you attract back the kind of situations, opportunities, financial opportunities that you want into your life. So if you can embody these three animals, the cheetah, the bee, and the lion, I think you'll be good to go. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Aquarius Rising. If it resonates and applies to your life, I would love to hear it down in the comments below. I hope you have a great one. If you want an astrology reading from me, check me out at willsboom.com and have a beautiful day. Bye. And last but never least, we have my beautiful Pisces rising. This full moon in Aries is happening in your second house. It is conjunct Chiron, and the sun is opposite it in Libra, conjunct Venus. And the sun is in the eighth house. So what does this mean for you guys? Well, first of all, a full moon in the second house can tend to bring a renewed experience with your relationship, with your confidence, with your values, and maybe even financial opportunities that can come as a result of you up leveling within yourself. So with the sun and Venus in the eighth house opposing Chiron, there may have been some unhealthy patterns that you've had to look at within relationships. There may have been some painful situations that could even tie back, because this is Chiron, that could tie back to our childhood, that could tie back to past lives, past events that have been kind of around our own sense of unworthiness, that have arisen in regards as a result of how people have treated us, how our vulnerabilities have been turned against us, how certain trauma and crisis has forged scars on our hearts that then makes us feel unworthy or uncertain or trepidatious about relationships and confidence and pursuing the things that we want in life. And so this full moon is about owning those, seeing those things, seeing those patterns, seeing the way that you've been hurt in the past and how that has affected your confidence and your financial prosperity as a result today. And so this full moon is also making a sextile to Saturn in the 12th house. A lot of deep reflection. The sun's in the 8th house, Saturn's in the 12th house. This is a process of purging, of letting go of the past, of the things that have held you down, that have held you back, that have kept you repeating unconscious cycles and patterns that have kept you feeling unworthy or small or less confident, all of those things. And I pulled the most amazing cards for you guys. I got the Nine of Cups, the Page of Wands. Definitely this feeling of you can have what you want. You can follow your passions. You can grow the confidence within yourself. This feels like you're kind of starting from scratch. Not like you don't have confidence, but some situation could have set you back a notch. And now you're having to confront that pain. And it's like you're slowly building yourself back up again. You're slowly building that light within yourself again. Owning what you want, owning your boundaries, owning your worth, bit by bit, owning your creative vision, allowing yourself to pursue the things that you desire, that you believe in, and not letting others tell you otherwise. And then the Nine of Cups to me is saying, I can have everything I want. This is a wish fulfillment card. I'm going to manifest my exact desires. And it's through the path of confronting where I've been holding myself back as a result of all the things I've talked about, that I'm going to find the tools necessary to create and manifest the things that I desire. And it's through confronting things head on with this buffalo card. The buffalo is running straight into the storm. The buffalo is the only animal that's not afraid of the lightning. It knows that if it goes right into the eye of the storm, that's where it's calmest. If you can just push past this pain, if you can just face it head on, then you can get the result and the thing that you're looking for, the safety, the sense of security, the sense of peace, the sense of ease that comes from internal into your external world. And so I see you guys becoming the buffalo at this full moon, or at the very least having the choice and the opportunity to become the buffalo. So I definitely feel like you guys are owning more of your light, owning more of your past, integrating it, not letting it define you, not letting it traumatize you and create inner turmoil, and you're becoming stronger as a result. And I think for many of you, with this camel card, it has felt maybe like a long journey to get here. The camel is barely drinking water. They have to move through the heat of the desert, carrying things and people on their backs, and they're just looking for that next oasis. And it feels like this. It feels like you guys have been on this long journey to get where you need to go here, to overcome some of these internal hurdles. And with this 8th house, I rolled this 8th house on the Astro Dice. It's like you've had to overcome so many of these past like you've probably actually overcome a ton of them already, and I feel like that's what this is saying. You've had to overcome so many of these past traumas and past crises and difficulties from your childhood that have really been a lot to overcome, that have felt at times like a dry desert within you, that you haven't had the ample resources, the ample water, the ample opportunity just given to you like everyone else. So you've had to push, you've had to survive, you've had to get past these things. And this is recognizing how much work you've done inside of yourself. With the moon, how much work you've done to become emotionally satiated and stable, emotionally intelligent, how much you've had to process from your childhood with the moon, how many unconscious habits that you've maybe inherited from family that you've had to look at and address and own and get past. I feel like it's been a long journey getting here. But I'm definitely getting the sense that you guys are growing by leaps and bounds at this full moon. And we're coming up to eclipse season, which I think is going to be really beneficial for you guys as well. You guys also have Mercury in Virgo in the 7th house opposing Jupiter in the 2nd. So it's going to be important for you to balance, you know, what I'm hearing from other people, conversations I'm having, the information I'm getting from them, and what I need to do to create my own inner peace and my own inner security. So balancing out like advice, relationships, working with others, all of those things with my own stability, my own security, my own money, my own happiness. And those may at times push and pull against each other, where one is dominating, like telling you to think this way or do this thing and you want to go here. Or maybe it's this thing is pulling more of your time, more of your energy, and you want to go here. So it's like we need to balance these two out as much as we can. Lastly, we have, and I also rolled the Mercury dice as well. So there may be some kind of details that you are meant to take care of in regards to relationships, things that you're meant to wrap up, sign on the dotted line. Maybe you're meant to work with somebody in particular. I don't know, that can mean a lot of things. But usually Virgo gives me the vibe of having to like not just finish something up, but make sure all the details are like checked out, if that makes sense, in regards to working with others, being with others, in relationship with others, conversations with others. It's like, don't forget that area of your life. There needs to be some details like ironed out or discussed or something like that. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about is you have Mars and Gemini in the 4th house squaring Neptune in the 1st. So you guys are on this journey of a lot of self-discovery with Mars in the 4th house, of journeying back into your childhood, confronting many of your emotional patterns, or you may be even extremely motivated to create a very safe space for yourself at home. And that could mean that you're confronting all this baggage that you carry with you, throwing it away so you can feel safe and comfortable. Or it could be even more literal, like, I want to have a safe home, I want to have a good home, I want to live here, I want to decorate it, buy a home, whatever that is. There's something about motivating you to create your own little safe cocoon, because you really might not have had that as well in childhood. It depends on who you are. But with this square to Neptune in the 1st house, there are ways in which you're uncertain about yourself. You're uncertain about your life path, where you're going to end up, where things are going, that can make you, that can kind of dissipate some of this energy from Mars. It's like, I'm going to create stability. But if you're not sure where you're going, that makes it a lot harder, right? It's like, okay, well, I'm going to lay down my roots where? Who am I? What's this existential question I'm asking myself? So there's still a lot of like soul searching that you need to do in this process. So before you can lay down roots, create a lot of security, we need to learn more about ourselves, ask the bigger questions, tune in with ourselves, and mostly be guided by our intuition. And then that will tell you where to go and what to do next. And it will make sense later. It probably won't make sense at the time. So that's what I see for you, Pisces. I hope that resonates. Please let me know by commenting down below if it applies to your life. I love to hear your personal anecdotes because it helps my practice. And please get me a thumbs up and a subscribe. If you want to, you can check out my readings at willsboom.com. I have many different astrology readings from life purpose, business, relationships, future transits, and all of the above. And if you want to learn astrology from me, I also have that there too. Have a great day. Bye.